Hey folks, how's it going? This is Seagull here, back with another video on Paralives. So this time, we got nearly 11 minutes of footage, where you see a house being built from start to finish, kind of speed build style, and wow, yes, this is awesome. Finally, we're getting something where it is more like gameplay instead of it being just a staged part of a very particular section of build mode. I will just be going over some highlights here, but I will leave a link to the full video in the video description below. One of the first little details I noticed is kind of random, but parafolk can be bit by mosquitoes. Yeah, just a funny little detail. And I also find it interesting that even though they are building with the game paused, you still have the animations of the plants moving and the parafolk moving as well. I also need to point out the for sale sign because you can also see that there's lot details and lot history. So I'm not entirely sure what the lot history is all about. If it's like a full-on detailed thing about who's lived there previously, or if it's just saved the layouts of what you've had there before, or maybe both. I love how when you draw a wall, it does show you the exact angle that it's at, as well as how many meters long. A little later on in the video, the drawing of curved walls is shown off, so that's pretty nice as well. I'm so glad that we can finally have curved walls in a life simulation game. And there's also the pulling of walls and even adjusting the wall height. And I'm not sure exactly how tall or short you can make the walls. I'm getting the impression it's more flexible than it is in The Sims 4. Just seeing just how flexible this build mode is in Paralives so far. Split leveling is another major point of this video, so yep, just pull the floor up and down and you can adjust the level of it. Looks pretty seamless. I really like how this works. So there's the two different levels of that room right there. It was also nice to see the UI for the build and buy mode. Right there's the wall selection, and in a minute the floors will also be painted. It's nice seeing all of this in action. This looks like it is just going to be a fun game to build. I hope the live mode will have the same energy too, but I think that's still gonna be a while until we see it. Yep, there we go. There's the floors being painted even at the different levels. Next we'll talk about the floor tile rotation. I like how it's done here as well. Just click on the floor and then you have the arrows, and then there's the arrows that point on the floor tiles for which direction for them to go in. We can also see some windows being placed, and they are resizable just like some other objects that we've seen already. So that's really great, but also it goes right to the edge of the wall. So just lots of flexibility there, and I think that'll be great for just making those sorts of like wooden lodges especially that have those windows that just completely open the wall up on one side, and yeah, that's gonna look awesome in this game. Actually, I think we can kind of see that at the end of the video with the completed house. And you also just saw the search bar in action where they typed in pillar, and now they're placing these pillars around. Next up is the living room. So there is a rug being freely placed and freely rotated as well. And it does have some pre-made swatches. Of course, it is compatible with the color wheel and brightness slider. There's another example of resizable furniture, this time with a dining table. So that is fantastic. Instead of just being stuck with a certain size for a style, just push and pull it as you please, and then you can have the size that you desire. And there's also some free placement of chairs around the table. This looks cool, but I wonder how that's gonna work animation-wise. And there's an example of stackable objects with logs near a fireplace. The custom lounge setup is probably one of my favorite parts of this whole video. So there are some chairs that are placed close together, but then if you want, you can remove the armrest and the pillow. Overall, it does look like Paralives' answer to sectional seating. It's also possible to place tables under and over each other, so that's a cool touch. And then there's also a couple of poof chairs placed nearby, as well as some clutter on top. Next we come to the kitchen, so we can see the counters and the fridge and the stove being placed. I do find it odd how there is the counter with the sink and part of it's hanging over the edge, but The game is still early in development, so that might end up being changed later, and there's also the island counters being placed, and it is also possible to place the bar stools in front of it. My favorite part, though, of the kitchen is definitely the lights that you can drag up and down to be whatever height that you want. Then there's the bathroom. There's not too much for me to talk about here, though when I was watching the Wholesome Direct, there was a short version of this that showed a different thing that wasn't really here. So there's laundry. There's a washer that can be placed inside of the counter, which is great. It's not just its own object like it is in The Sims 4. With the bedroom, I do find it interesting that you can easily place tables in front of it and also add a pillow. I'm not sure how that's going to work with the animations too when the pair folk get into the bed. Will the pillow still be there? Will it disappear? I don't know. I'm a bit confused about that. Oh, yeah, there's an example of a painting being placed down with the image also adjustable, but we saw that in a previous video. Now we're nearing the end of this speed build, and one other thing that I really like here is it is possible to adjust the height of objects. So if you want floating rocks, you can do that. And I also like how with this feature it is possible to have rocks appear to be a bit more sunk into the ground. We can also see some plants being placed here. It doesn't look like they're compatible with the color wheel, but again, the game is still in early development, so maybe it will be possible to have purple colored plants in the future. But there's also some trees being placed, and now we can see just the final flyover of all these rooms. And I gotta say, this house just turned out gorgeous. The furniture I think all looks really nice. The living room especially kind of reminds me of some of the furniture we got in The Sims 4 lately. And I love the art style too. It just, every time I see it, it makes me feel relaxed just looking at it. And there's the kitchen right there, overall looking pretty nice, even having the cutting board, and there's the bedroom and the bathroom next to each other. And as we zoom out of the house, boom! There goes the roof being plonked onto the top of it. And that's it. That's the video. So I was not expecting this much today. I knew there was going to be a bit of a reveal with this Wholesome Direct that they had today with a bunch of indie games. Over 70 of them, actually. But yeah, wow. There was a little bit of footage in that Direct, but then that whole separate 11-minute video, pretty much. Really cool. Like, the game has never felt more real than it is right now. Not just having some staged short clips, but actually seeing a house being built is really wonderful. The Paralives Studio is also kind enough to send me some high-quality screenshots of the house, so I'll just have them on screen as I'm ending off this video. So I will be doing a live stream over on my Twitch channel soon, just going over all of this in even more detail. And yeah, just feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on what you think of this new Paralives footage. And be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with my latest gaming content, including life simulations and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!